to come to the next question. In your opinion, how transparent is the judiciary in India? You know, this is a very critical insight emerging from the C voter data, where 34%, 1 in 3 respondents say not transparent at all. 40% think only partially transparent. It is just 17% of the respondents. And again, as I said, whether you're an NDA voter or an India voter, it usually isn't like this on almost any other series of questions where they feel the same way across political affiliations. But you've got only 17% saying they think the judiciary is completely transparent, 34% saying not transparent at all. Mahima Singh, this idea that it's a black box, the points that Anjali Bhardwaj was referring to, that you don't know who's getting how many cases, how much money judges make, their assets, their liabilities, all of that not being addressed and known fully raises very serious questions of the level of transparency in our judiciary today, Mahima.
Before I come to address the instant question you've just asked, I would, also take into consideration the first two questions that you had asked, and I am absolutely, in resonance with the voters of this vote, and so are Justice Oka and Justice Gautam Patel of the Bombay High Court, when they say that the judiciary is, Indian judiciary is in its free fall right now. And if you please, I would like to take you through two illustrations before I make my point here. You see, there was one Mr. Balesh Dhankar, the president of BJP's Overseas Friends organization in Australia, who's been just convicted for, wrongdoing to some women and has been sent to the prison for 40 years. And here in India, we have one Mr. Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh. To file an FIR against him, it took these Indian wrestlers, women, to approach the Honorable Supreme Court and get the FIR registered, and he is a re-elected MP here. So you see, we have to talk about trust, we have to talk about transparency, we have to talk about budget allocation, we have to talk about how the state is looking at the judiciary and how the state is treating judiciary as an institution. While Honorable Leader of Opposition Shri Rahul Gandhi persistently makes this point in the Parliament and elsewhere, that all the institutions in India, including the judiciary where separation of powers is required, are under immense pressure, are being influenced by the government. The same point has been made by the judges today when they are saying that we are seeing the worst times of the Indian judiciary. And that is also reflected in your voter data.
Let Hitesh Jain, who was shaking his head vehemently in disagreement, respond to what you're saying.
Hold on.
Mahima Singh from the Congress party, Hitesh Jain, making the argument that it's the government that is interfering in the functioning of the judiciary, which is why judges aren't being able to do their job. Mahima, I'll come back to you for a follow-up in just a moment. Let Hitesh Jain complete his argument. Hitesh, go on. Hitesh.
Rahul, we are discussing serious issues. This is not about BJP or Congress. So if you really want to address the problem, first we have to get out of this BJP Congress every time on all the matters. As your survey shows, both the NDA voters and India voters, there is no difference in what they are thinking. So the common public is aligned. It is netas in the studio who like to look at from the prism of politics. I'm surprised civil activists like Anjali Bhardwaj also picks up one case. But let me give you a data where the problems are. 40% of cases are land-related eviction matters and all. You want to take a possession of your house, the landlord-tenant matters, which goes into 20 years. Simple things like motor accident claim, like you get an accident, people have died or people have suffered injuries and all. Look at the data. One should look at the judgments that are being delivered by Justice Karol. So before he gives the judgment, he gives 3 columns. 1, time taken in the trial court. 2nd, time taken in the High Court. 3rd, time taken in the Supreme Court. Now that data will tell you, like motor accident claims for 40,000, 50,000, 1 lakh rupee, you have filed the cases in 1990 and they're languishing in 2020. It is these cases where the common man is concerned, where there is a delay. That is where the problem. Now, bail-related matters are concerned. They are talking about under trial. We try to look at the political cases and all, where the common man was not concerned with how much time electoral bond was case was taking. Common man is thinking whether I am going to get my possession, whether I am going to get my bail. There are under trials who are languishing in the jail. So look at the quality of the verdicts and all. It is this matter where common man is suffering.
You're saying it's cases that concern the common man which really shape perception about the judiciary, and the likes of Mahima Singh, so I'm going to give her an opportunity to respond, are unnecessarily looking at this from a political prism. It's a institutional concern that needs to be looked at more seriously. Let Mahima respond to that.
The common man is also looking at Rahul. Why does a Ram Rahim get a parole every time there's an election? Why is the BJP government in Haryana not opposing his paroles? The common public also looks at the budget that is allocated by the governments for the respective judiciary institutions in states and by the union. And let me tell you, by the way, that Telangana today has the highest spending per capita, that is 3,047 per capita. What are the other states doing about it? Why is the union government not increasing the budget allocation on the institution judiciary? Why is the government not doing enough to cast away the aspersions that are constantly overshadowing the judiciary about its pressure? You remember the Chandigarh mayor case? The Chandigarh mayor case, the judge who adjudicated that matter was transferred. You remember, so many other cases where the judges, and let me tell you, in the last 11 years, this trust deficit in Indian judiciary can be summed between two names, that is Justice Loya and Justice Ranjan Gogoi. Let me leave it at that for now.
Okay, you are taking this in a very political direction and talking only about what happened in 11 years. Sanjay Hegde, is that even fair? Because I mean, these issues with the judiciary have been building up for a while. To now just look at it as a NDA versus UPA prism, is Mahima Singh being fair, or is she really debasing this debate and really not looking at the structural questions and challenges, as Hitesh Jain says, we need to focus on?
Well, I think neither Mahima nor Hitesh will like what I say. I think that the current government is only doing a bad version of what the Congress did so many years ago in the 1970s. So it's like that. Whenever there is a powerful government, they want a judiciary made to measure. That's a phrase from Mr. Palkiwala. They want their people appointed. They do not want any people appointed who are likely to go against their philosophy or against their interests. So we do not, and this is where the question of the independence of the judiciary comes up. We need fiercely independent people who keep their party positions aside.
But most of the recommendations in the way that the judicial appointments happen are done by judges themselves. So then you're blaming the government for picking the judges and filling it with its own people. At this moment, judicial appointments happen through the judiciary.
Well, equally, any judge whom the government doesn't approve of doesn't get appointed. You have Saurav Kirpal, you have John Satyan, you have a whole host of people.
Yeah, but it's not like they can stuff it with their people. But Sanjay, the argument you made was the government stuffing the judiciary with its own judges. That's not true, because the base recommendation comes from within the judicial system.
Yes, but the judiciary is told that unless you give us recommendations that we agree with, those appointments will not go through.
Let Hitesh Jain respond that the government is trying to stuff the judiciary with people who are sympathetic to its cause, which is one of the reasons why the quality of judges and the quality of belief that people have in our judges is falling. Hitesh.
Well, actually, polarized debate cannot yield any solution, because I am looking at this purely from the institution of the problem of the institution and purely as a lawyer, someone who has appeared for last 30 years in the court, in the trial court and all. So basis that experience I am sharing. So the first thing, if you really want to improve the institution, we have to rise over this polarized business of this is right and this is wrong, because in last 30 years, it is the Collegium system that has taken the control. If that is the case, these are the same people, they challenge the NJAC. I mean, one could have supported the reform, somebody could have supported NJAC with the proper reforms or with some suggestions and all. So you don't want NJAC, you want Collegium, then you blame the government. It is the Collegium that is appointing. And I will tell you, there is the answer. Suppose today it is a Collegium system set up by the Supreme Court, and if you are saying that Collegium is picking up the government appointee, then this is a clear evidence that the Collegium system has been failed and this has to be replaced. Now, the same set of contrarians, they support the Collegium system. So I fail to understand what do they want. I mean, when a system has failed, as I mentioned to you, Supreme Court and High Court, you're talking about 34 and 1900 judges. At the base of the pyramid, District Court, there are 25,000 judges. Now, all these people are not political appointees. It is that 25,000 at that pyramid where it is taking
Okay.
50